Hello, everyone. Today, let's delve into a mysterious case involving a young mother found in her home under strange circumstances. The police quickly stepped in and uncovered some unsettling clues. However, the evidence was insufficient to close the case, leaving it unresolved for decades. Nearly 60 years later, an unexpected phone call brought a major breakthrough, uncovering the long-buried truth. Karen Snyder, born on July 29, 1948, in the small town of Cedar Lake, Indiana, USA, grew up in a large family with two brothers and three sisters. While in high school, Karen met Paul, and they decided to get married when she was just 17 years old. A year later, in 1966, their first daughter, Paula, was born. At only 18, Karen and Paul were eager to build their home together. They moved to Calumet, Illinois, close to Paul's family. Their house was just a few doors down from his parents, allowing them to visit frequently and spend plenty of time with their granddaughter. With a population of around 25,000, Calumet was considered a safe place. Not far from Chicago, Karen mainly took care of their infant daughter while Paul worked for a local railway company. On November 12, 1966, Paul left home to work the night shift at 2 p.m. A few hours later, he called Karen, but there was no answer. This was unusual because Karen rarely went out and would never leave their 2-month-old daughter alone at home. Concerned, Paul asked his parents to check on her. His parents knocked on the door but received no response. Without a spare key, they knocked for several more minutes before returning home and calling Paul. Alarmed, Paul left work early to check on his family. As Paul approached their house, an ominous feeling grew stronger. The porch light, which Karen always left on for him, was off, and the curtains were unusually drawn shut. Paul unlocked the door and noticed it hadn't been locked. Upon entering the living room, he sighed in relief when he saw their 2-month-old daughter safe and sound, sleeping peacefully in her crib near the still-playing TV. But Karen was nowhere to be found. Worried, Paul called out for Karen and searched the house. When he went upstairs, he discovered that the staircase light switch wasn't working. In their bedroom, the glow from a bedside lamp illuminated a horrifying scene. The room was in chaos, with blood splattered everywhere. Karen lay motionless on the floor, showing no signs of life. Shocked, Paul immediately ran downstairs, carried his daughter outside, and called the police. His parents arrived shortly after hearing the news, finding Paul sobbing uncontrollably on the street. His mother, carrying a flashlight, rushed inside, hoping to help Karen, but upon seeing her bloodied body, she knew there was no hope. Police and medical personnel arrived quickly. A doctor confirmed that Karen had died, and the investigation began. At the back door, they found minor scratches on the lock, suggesting someone had tried to break in unsuccessfully. However, a basement window was broken, with a trail of blood leading from it to the front door, indicating the intruder had injured themselves while entering through the window. But some details didn't add up. The unlocked front door suggested Karen might have opened it for the intruder herself. In the living room, blood spatters suggested the attack may have started there. Near the baby's crib, a trail of blood led from the living room up the stairs to the bedroom, where the tragic event concluded. The bedroom where Karen's body was found was a scene of utter chaos. Blood was everywhere, and furniture was overturned and broken, indicating Karen had fought fiercely against her attacker. On the bedroom floor, police found a telephone ripped from the wall. This suggested Karen may have fled to the bedroom to try calling for help, but hadn't succeeded. At the time, there was no centralized emergency number like 911. Each police department had its own number. In her panic, Karen may have dialed the wrong number, unable to get help. Another strange detail was a light bulb from the staircase lying on the floor, smeared with blood. Police theorized the intruder had removed the bulb while chasing Karen upstairs, deliberately plunging the area into darkness to disrupt her defense efforts. In the downstairs bathroom, investigators found a pile of bloodied items, including pants, bedsheets, and towels. Detectives believe the killer used these to clean themselves before leaving the scene. The discarded pants suggested the attacker had changed clothes to avoid detection while fleeing. These details painted a picture of the brutality of the crime and Karen's desperate struggle to defend herself. However, despite the many clues at the scene, the killer's identity remained a mystery, leaving the case at a standstill. The crime seemed to stem from personal motives or hatred. The killer had attempted to clean themselves and erase evidence with towels and other items, but the sheer amount of blood throughout the house made this effort futile. Afterward, the killer dumped the items in the bathtub and fled the scene. Investigators suspected the killer had stayed at the crime scene for some time after the murder, though they couldn't determine exactly how long. Based on the evidence, police quickly ruled out robbery as a motive. The only items missing were Karen's green wallet containing about $50 and a nightlight of little value. An autopsy revealed Karen had suffered 124 stab wounds, most concentrated on her chest. The ferocity of the attack led experts to believe the killer harbored deep-seated hatred. Based on the injuries, the weapon was likely a narrow-bladed knife, similar to a dagger, but it was not found at the scene or nearby. Karen was fully clothed, and there were no signs of sexual assault. However, investigators did not entirely rule out the possibility as they continued to examine other motives. The brutality of the crime, its focus on Karen, and other details suggested the killer might have known her. Yet, the suspect's identity and their true motive remained a major question for the investigative team. After questioning Paul and analyzing the evidence, police found no inconsistencies in his account. Paul's co-workers confirmed his presence at work throughout his shift, and Karen's estimated time of death, between 4 o'clock and 6 p.m., did not align with Paul as the culprit since he had left home earlier in the afternoon. This forced investigators to explore other theories. Paul's mother provided a critical detail. Karen had expressed a desire to leave Calumet and return to Indiana to be closer to her family. She admitted feeling uneasy living in their current home but didn't elaborate on why. This raised suspicions that Karen's fear might have been connected to the killer, possibly someone she knew. Another clue came from Karen's neighbors. Their dog, which usually barked at any noise, had been unusually quiet on the night of the murder. This suggested the killer might have been someone familiar to Karen, as dogs often don't react strongly to people they recognize. The police shifted their focus to the crime scene. They questioned whether the scratches on the back door lock and the broken basement window had been staged to make the murder appear as a random break-in. The lack of forced entry at the front door, combined with the possibility that Karen had voluntarily opened it or that the killer had a key, supported this theory. Detectives concentrated on interviewing those close to Karen and expanded the investigation to identify anyone with the motive and opportunity to commit the crime. But the biggest question remained unanswered: who had brutally killed Karen, and why? Suspicion soon fell on James, a family friend who had recently been at the house to perform repairs. James had noticeable injuries, including a bandaged hand and a cut on his forehead, which he claimed were from a drunken fall. However, the injuries seemed to match the blood evidence found at the broken basement window where the intruder had likely entered. When questioned, James maintained that his injuries were accidental. His wife corroborated that he had come home drunk with bandaged hands and a cut forehead, but also admitted that such erratic behavior wasn't unusual for James, who frequently drank heavily. James adamantly denied any involvement in Karen's death. Despite his denial, James's story raised suspicions. Investigators were particularly troubled by his inability to provide a convincing explanation for why his injuries matched the blood trail at the crime scene. His nervous and unstable behavior at Karen's funeral further fueled doubts. Police continued to investigate James's activities on the night of the murder, seeking inconsistencies in his account. They also interviewed others who knew James, hoping to uncover clues about his potential behavior or motives. However, neither James nor Paul was definitively linked to the crime, and police lacked the evidence to press charges. Although the crime was clearly not random but driven by deep personal motives, investigators couldn't identify the true killer. The case gradually turned into an unsolved mystery, leaving the community and Karen's family in anguish. Police decided not to publicly disclose their suspicions about James, fearing it might disrupt the community or hinder the investigation. Still, in a small town like Calumet, rumors spread quickly. Residents speculated about who could commit such a heinous crime, especially against a young mother beloved by many. A potential breakthrough came when blood analysis from the crime scene revealed two blood types, Karen's and another matching James's blood type. However, forensic technology at the time wasn't advanced enough for DNA analysis, and the blood type match was only circumstantial, insufficient for prosecution. Police hoped detaining James might lead to a confession, but he steadfastly denied any involvement, insisting his injuries were from a drunken accident. With no direct evidence and smudged fingerprints at the scene, the investigation stalled. James was released, and the case once again lost momentum. Meanwhile, Karen's tragic death left a void in the community. Residents who once felt safe in their small town now lived in fear, uncertain if the murderer might still be among them. Despite the lack of progress, investigators didn't abandon their quest for justice. Over the years, they continued to question new suspects and pursue leads, but no significant breakthroughs emerged. Karen's family lived with their grief, endlessly questioning why such a loving young mother had her life taken so violently. Karen's murder was not just a personal tragedy but a lasting scar on the town of Calumet. Its brutality haunted the community, and even decades later, the case remained an unsolved mystery. People continued to ask themselves, will justice ever be served? And will the truth ever come to light? A young man unexpectedly contacted the police, claiming that his grandmother, who used to live near Karen's house, often spoke about the case with deep regret. His grandmother always felt uneasy that justice had not been served, and the man revealed that he possessed crucial information related to the case. His appearance caught the attention of the police, especially when he disclosed that his grandmother had once suspected someone close to Karen. However, she had refrained from speaking out, fearing repercussions for her family or retaliation. More importantly, the young man shared that his grandmother had recounted details about the case that appeared to have never been publicly disclosed. This lent significant credibility to the information he provided. This marked the first major breakthrough in decades. The police decided to reopen the case files, carefully reviewing old evidence and comparing it to the details provided by the man. They also utilized modern forensic technology to reanalyze blood samples and other evidence from the crime scene. Advances in DNA technology opened new opportunities to identify the perpetrator with greater certainty. Karen's family, particularly her daughter Paula, was informed about this new development. Despite the many years that had passed, Paula held on to hope that the truth would finally come to light and the perpetrator would be brought to justice. Karen's story, once a symbol of injustice and loss, now stood as a testament to unwavering perseverance in the pursuit of justice. This new lead brought hope not only to the victim's family but also served as a powerful reminder that, no matter how much time passes, the truth has a way of emerging. More than half a century later, Karen's case saw a pivotal turning point thanks to modern forensic technology. DNA analysis from blood found on Karen's dress matched that of James, proving that he had been at the crime scene on the night of the murder. Shortly thereafter, the police arrested James, now an elderly man. During interrogations, James initially denied any involvement, just as he had done for decades. However, faced with irrefutable DNA evidence, he was forced to admit the truth. James confessed that on that fateful night, he had visited Karen's house while intoxicated. A heated argument ensued, and in a fit of uncontrollable rage, he killed her. James also admitted that after committing the crime, he staged the scene to mislead investigators. He broke the basement window and created signs of a break-in, hoping to make it appear as though a random intruder had attacked her. James's arrest and confession brought a sense of relief to Karen's family after decades of waiting for justice. Paula, Karen's daughter, stated in a press conference that the truth had finally been revealed. She expressed her deep gratitude to the investigative team for their unwavering dedication in solving the case. This story stands as a testament to the power of modern forensic science and the relentless pursuit of justice. After 56 years, the tragic mystery that had loomed over the town of Calumet was unraveled. Justice was finally served, bringing peace to Karen's memory and closing a painful chapter for her family. The call from the police gave Paula a sense of relief and closure, knowing that justice had been served. Although her mother's loss could never be undone, Paula shared that learning the truth allowed her and her family to close a painful chapter in their lives after more than half a century of living in anguish and doubt. James was officially charged with first-degree murder and would face trial soon. Although his advanced age and poor health might influence the severity of his punishment, Karen's family felt that his arrest and confession were sufficient proof that justice, even delayed, was not forgotten. Some reporters covering the case speculated that James's motive might have stemmed from an unrequited love for Karen, clouded by jealousy toward her husband. His drunken state that night might have exacerbated his jealousy and anger, leading to the horrific act of violence. However, these theories require further validation, and the true motive will only be fully revealed during the trial. Karen's family, especially Paula, expressed their heartfelt gratitude to the investigative team, who worked tirelessly to bring the truth to light. Paula shared her hope that the trial would uncover the complete story, providing a resolution and easing the pain that had lingered for 56 years. Karen's case serves as a painful reminder of the destructive potential of human violence, but also stands as proof of the resilience in the search for justice. With the aid of modern forensic science and the determination of investigators, the truth has finally been revealed. Not only Karen's family, but also the community of Calumet, long overshadowed by the case, felt solace knowing that justice, though delayed, had been served. Paula admitted that she had once lost hope that the case would be resolved and was astonished to learn that evidence had been preserved so well after more than half a century. In a moment of emotion, she shared that her resentment toward James stemmed not only from his cruel act of taking her mother's life, but also from the emotional damage he inflicted on her father. Having to endure the brutal loss of his wife, combined with lingering doubts about his closest friend, placed an enormous psychological burden on Paula's father. He lived the rest of his life in pain and torment, which Paula believed contributed to his early death. The fact that James, the friend her father once trusted, had lived freely for over 50 years while her family suffered irreparable harm only deepened the pain. For Paula, James's arrest was not only an act of justice for her mother, but also a release for her father's memory. It erased lingering doubts and provided solace, albeit belatedly, to a family that had endured so much suffering. This story is a powerful testament to the strength of justice and modern forensic science, but it also serves as a poignant reminder of the lasting impact violence can have on families and communities.